Hello and welcome to the third in a series of 3 podcasts for SMOHIT's 2018 Health Challenge, New Me, Know Me. This sponsored program is designed to help you get more in touch with your health and wellness, including priorities and activities that will help you be safer at work and prepare you to live a healthier lifestyle. I'm Brian Rawlings with Wellness Ant. As highlighted in Podcast 1, we have the distinction to work with the SMOHIT team to support you on your health journey. Wellness Ant provides a range of strategies, programs, and services, including health coaching, nutrition education, fitness and stress relief programs, and much more to help organizations and their employees implement habits that can improve their overall well-being. My colleague, Crystal Prater, and I will be your hosts for today's podcast on the topic, Know Your Plan. Now, in our first podcast, we highlighted the fact that from the standpoint of your health, safety, and wellness, there are several numbers that are important for you to know as they'll help you to assess your overall health and your wellness goals. Although we are all individual and the numbers of most important to you may vary, we highlighted 3 numbers critical for many: body mass index, or BMI, cholesterol, and sleep. Now, if you missed podcast 1 or 2, be sure to go back and check it out at www.smohit.org/New Me, Know Me, and look for the podcast link. So to quickly recap, we also discussed the best means of accurately getting your health numbers, which is an annual visit to the doctor. And doing that, it's going to literally provide you insight into your overall health, help you unearth areas of your health that you need to pay attention to, and then provide you with a plan to proactively deal with any current or potential health issues. So in the time that you've had since our first and second podcast, we hope that you, at a minimum, have scheduled your annual physical with your doctor. Please make sure that you keep this appointment and be sure to consult with your doctor throughout the year. Your doctor is going to be able to assist you in determining what areas of your health you should prioritize. Now, in this podcast, we're going to focus on what to do after you know your numbers, and that is to put a plan in place to help you meet your wellness goals. Today, we will discuss how you'll win the numbers game by developing a plan of action and some simple tools you can use in creating your plan in 4 areas: stabilizing your numbers, moving your body, getting enough rest, which most of us do not do, and eating real food. Now, I know you're saying, as soon as you hear that real food, it's like, okay, so what is real food? We're going to go into that. Crystal is actually going to talk about that in depth a little bit later in our podcast. So let's look at the first part of your plan, stabilizing your numbers. Whichever numbers you need to work on to improve your health, be it your body mass index, which is a measure of the body fat based on your weight in relation to your height, your cholesterol numbers, or your blood sugar numbers, which indicate diabetes or pre-diabetes. You may be feeling overwhelmed by all of these results, and believe me, that is perfectly normal. It may take a bit of time to really process all of these numbers, as well as the thought of the lifestyle and habit changes you might need to implement. And keep this in mind. When you are making behavioral changes, those are the toughest types of changes that you're going to ever probably need to make. And that's simply because you're going against something that has become a habit. It's become your routine. You're going against something that you don't even think about. You just do it. So making those changes are generally a lot harder, but you can do it. So that's why our first part of Know Your Plan is to simply stabilize your numbers. Stabilizing your numbers is a good way to help this process feel less daunting. It takes some of the pressure off of thinking about the immediate sense that you've got to reach all of your goals at once, because you don't. You really don't need to reach them all at once, and you want to make it so that you're methodically working through your plan. So by stabilizing your numbers, you're also going to begin to stabilize your health. For example, if your BMI was high, your first goal should be to stay weight stable. In other words, get to a point where your weight is not fluctuating. It's not as high as it was, and it's actually coming down. Studies show that the real problem for our heart health comes when we continue to gain weight. So what you want to do with your numbers you received is look at this as an alarm bell which is just rung, and realize now is not the time to press snooze. You have to start taking action. And the first step you can take is to stabilize. This in turn will help you plan effective strategies and lifestyle changes that you'll want and need to begin to improve your numbers. Okay, so now that you have an idea of what it's going to take to stabilize your numbers and mentally prepare for any changes you'll need to make, Crystal has more information about our second step in Know Your Plan, which is all about the importance of moving your body. So Crystal, everybody has heard statistics about how much we should exercise, but too many of us still don't do it enough. How can this part of our wellness plan help us improve our numbers?
That's exactly right, Brian. And today, the examples that we're providing in Know Your Plan are things we really all can do to improve our health, no matter what the numbers are that we need to prioritize. Whether it's your weight, your blood sugar levels, your blood pressure, or cholesterol levels, moving your body will have a tremendous impact on your health and well-being. Unfortunately, as Brian shared, far too many of us aren't getting the recommended amounts of exercise. Now, I can hear many of you out there thinking about the time commitment, or should I say lack of time we feel we have for exercise. Or maybe it's the cost of gym memberships, and sometimes simply just the motivation to do it, especially if it's not something we love. But let me just suggest to you that we can't afford not to make the time. And so an important part of developing your plan in this area is often a change in our mindsets. As Brian mentioned, the behavior change. Now, by thinking of exercise more as movement and finding an activity that you enjoy, you'll find that you're more likely to do it. So maybe you don't have enough fun in your life anymore. It's all work and no play. And you used to love to roller skate. Well, take your family out for a spin. Or perhaps you enjoy swimming, but you can never make it to the pool before it closes. Think about how you can rework that into your schedule to incorporate the activity that you love. Again, if you find something you enjoy, you're more likely to do it. This is critically important because guess what? The American Heart Association recommends that we get in 150 minutes or 2.5 hours of moderate activity every week. This works out to 30 minutes, 5 days per week. That's actually a lot, especially for those of us who are juggling a commute, work, and family life, as well as if you're not exercising at all right now. But there's some things we can do to build up to that. For example, try moving your body by going for brisk walks in 10-minute intervals when you take a break at work. You'll find not only that this helps in terms of your numbers, but also how exercise benefits your mind and body in terms of stress relief. The body releases chemicals called endorphins during exercise that give you a positive and energized feeling, which can help to improve mood disorders such as depression. So again, the benefits of moving your body are amazing. Now, I know many of us often feel just a little too tired to exercise. So Brian, we talked about knowing your sleep numbers in podcast 1. How can we develop a plan to address our sleep habits?
Absolutely right, Crystal. As we talked about in our first podcast, sleep is a number that has a tendency to get overlooked, but it can help improve your overall wellness immensely. Sleep is literally the number one way to re-energize your body. Adequate sleep not only helps to control things like weight and blood pressure, it helps to make your life easier when you're alert and rested. It also gives you the energy that you need to move your body. So we thought it was really important to re-emphasize the importance of sleep in Know Your Plan. After you have assessed how many hours of sleep you need to get each night and how many you need to feel good the next day, think about what your barriers are to getting a good night's rest. For example, if you eat late at night, your body is still in the digestive process when you lie down. So you may want to consider eating dinner before 8 p.m. or at a minimum 2 hours before your bedtime. If you find that you go to bed and your mind is anxious and worried and it's just racing, there are a few things that you can do as well. Maybe watching the late night news close to bedtime puts the day's events in the center of your mind, and you should watch something that's a little bit lighter closer to your bedtime. Or if you find that at night your mind becomes filled with all of the thoughts and things that you have to do the next day, place a piece of paper and a pen on your nightstand and jot those things down that come to mind. You'll find that writing your thoughts down really helps you to get them out of your head, and that's going to help you get off to a better night's sleep. Another biggie for people is the bright lights of the television screen and computer screens. Those actually distract us and activate our senses when we're trying to put all of that to rest. So simply consider turning off your television set and or your computers a little bit earlier. So these are just a few examples that you could find that are keeping you from getting a good night's rest. So develop a plan that will help you get the sleep you need to be the best the next day and therefore positively impacting your numbers. You'll likely also find that the better rest you have, the less food cravings you're also going to have for starches and sugars that can have negative impacts on your numbers, which leads us to our final part of Know Your Plan. So here it is, Crystal. This is what we talked about. I mentioned it at the very beginning. What are real foods?
This is a biggie, Brian. I know with the audience, again, I know what you're thinking out there. If I'm eating it, isn't it real? Well, the short answer is no. Because real foods are foods that are filled with the balance of nutrients you need to stabilize your blood sugar, lose weight, decrease your cholesterol levels, and more healthful benefits. Today, though, most of us eat on the go. We eat foods that we can microwave or that come wrapped, boxed, or packaged in some way. Now, if you read the label on that packaging, you'll find that those foods are made with ingredients that most of us can't even pronounce, let alone know what they are. And guess what that means? They're manufactured. Our bodies were designed to run on the best fuel for them, real foods, which, to put it simply, are foods in their whole or purest forms. Think about an apple or even meat that doesn't have a lot of chemicals or preservatives added. Now, I know it can be confusing to think about what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat, and sometimes it's overwhelming and quite honestly, adds stress to our lives. But I think there's an easy example that most of us out here can relate to help us to think about what real food is versus what it isn't. And that's McDonald's French fries. Now, I actually really do enjoy them, but guess what? They aren't real food. And you know how you know that? If you leave the drive-thru and you start eating them and one falls between the seat of your car, and I know I'm not the only one that's ever happened to, and you finally find it like a month or 2-3 months later, you'll see that it basically looks the same. Anything that is a real food is alive and would have rotted long ago. So that's how you know. If it'll stay on a shelf and in a package for years, it's not real. Now, this can be a hard pill for many of us to swallow because a lot of our favorite foods are quick and flavor-filled choices that aren't really the best for us. But it's really important that we get back to the basics of what healthy eating is. What I want to emphasize here is that it doesn't mean we should feel deprived of the things or foods that we enjoy. In fact, moderation and balance in your food choices can actually be a great start in knowing your plan and taking control over your health and making optimal choices. One of the first things you can do as you switch over to real foods is to look at the foods you're currently eating and just simply cut them in half. Save the rest for another day or share it. This is really a great tip to start you in the right direction. Again, knowing your plan is all about beginning to take the action steps with the support of the right tools and choices to help you improve your health. As we said at the beginning of the podcast, we're all individuals and your choices should really be dictated by what your body needs. Don't be afraid to try some different approaches. Your body's going to tell you what it likes and what it doesn't. And again, most importantly, what it needs. As we close out this third and final podcast in the series, Know Me, Know My Numbers, we'd like to again remind you that you can review all of the podcasts at any time on the SMOHIT website at www.smohit.org/New Me, Know Me. Then clicking on Know Me, Know My Numbers and selecting the podcast link. Also, don't forget to stay tuned for updates and information on upcoming programs in the 2018 Health Challenge series. Again, Brian and I want to thank you for tuning in and remind you to take in these important steps to implement optimal health for your life and well-being.